let's go for a walk. Now your glory days might be over, but that doesn't mean you can't get back to your best. You may have been a pretty decent athlete in your younger days, but you can't train like that anymore. You can't live that lifestyle because you've got way too much stress in your life these days to be able to keep up with the demands of everyday life. You can't just train and live that stress-free life unless you've already made a ton of money and you've pretty much retired, but that's not most people's reality. So what's the roadmap to getting back to feeling like an athlete, feeling like the energy you had in your younger days? That's what we're going to go through today. So I mentioned the glory days. Can't train like that anymore. Can't think, oh, I can do that and I can do that and I can do that. And back then you had so much time to recover. You could sleep in and it didn't matter. You didn't have the responsibilities. You didn't have the consequences of staying out too late, because if you did, you'd just sleep in. You can't go back to training that way. It just doesn't work. You can't get by on less sleep and think it's not going to catch up with you. Back then, sure, plenty of time to be able to rest, recover, whatever. You spent a lot of time just lounging around doing not a huge amount, and that was great. But the main thing is, don't try and train that way now. Don't go back to living that sort of lifestyle, because you're just going to get frustrated with what happens. You are going to at a massive risk of injury or illness, because you can burn yourself out really quickly by training too much. And even just getting back into it can be a huge problem. So one of the things that I see a lot of people do is they will go, right, I'm going to get fit, and you go into it 100 mile an hour, and let's say that you decide you're going to get started with a run. Well, yeah, okay, I'll just do a quick 10k run today. I used to be able to do that out no problem, and all of a sudden you've got stress fractures in your feet, or you've been able to pull muscles or strain the tendons and ligaments around some of the joints. Maybe it's your foot, ankle, knee, hip. Maybe you can feel it in your back. Maybe you don't even complete that first run and you're already broken. And then the rest of your week is off. And if you really messed yourself up, you might not be training at all for the next month. It's not a smart way of doing it. You are far better off going a very slow way back into it. I don't know if you've ever heard the expression, got to walk before you can run. That's exactly where it's at. I'd encourage you to start doing a whole lot more walking, so your body's just getting used to spending time on your feet, moving. Maybe you're walking on the grass, maybe you're progressing to walking on the concrete, maybe you are able to walk and you've been able to do plenty of that, and you do want to get to some running. Start off doing some shorter runs on the grass, and by shorter runs I mean like 10, 20, 30 meters, and doing it at 60 or 70% pace, so your body is just getting used to the impact. It's getting used to moving and taking some of that force, because your muscles, tendons, ligaments, they're just not ready most of the time for full-on intensity. It's like going from 0 to 100, and it just doesn't work. So the last thing you want is to go too hard too soon and just destroy yourself. Easy way into it, slow and steady, even if it means 5 or 10 minute sessions to start with for the first week or two, working your way up to 20, 30 minute sessions, and eventually maybe you're getting up to 45 minutes, maybe an hour. All depends on how much time you've got to actually spend training, and then do you have enough energy to recover from it. So do you have the mindset of an athlete still? Do you have that thing about, all right, well, training is important and I'm training for game day? If not, think about it this way. Your training is training for life, training for longevity, training to be able to do whatever needs to be done when it needs to happen. Training for that trip, that boys' trip where you want to go away and do whatever. Maybe you're going surfing or mountain biking or hiking up in the mountains, kayaking, whatever it is. Maybe you want to do a fun run. It doesn't matter what it is, but you need to have something. You need to be training for it. You need to be prepared for it. Sometimes these things come up and then it's just spur of the moment, and maybe it's only 4 weeks out and you've got to get yourself fit for something that's going on 4 weeks away. There's not enough time. So you've got to get into the mentality of your training for the next big thing, the next adventure. And you know, maybe that could just be something you do with your kids. Maybe it's something that is joining in on the parent versus students or parents versus teachers athletics races that they have sometimes. Maybe you are wanting to join in with footy training with the kids or basketball training or something like that. Forget about embarrassing yourself, you just don't want to break yourself. So training is important, and for an athlete it's all about gradually working your way up. So in the training world we'd talk about periodization, where you're working from here and you build yourself up over a few weeks, and then you have a back off week, and then you build yourself up a little bit more and you back off and you build it up a bit more, and you gradually keep doing that. You're not constantly pushing harder and harder and harder to hit that peak volume. It goes like a roller coaster. It goes up and it goes down, it goes up and it goes down. That's to give you enough time to recover. That's what it was like in your younger days. So imagine you need a whole lot more of that recovery time in your glory days now. So it's also important to not worry too much about hitting PRs all the time. You don't always have to set a record for how fast your run went, or what distance you were able to get on the bike today, or how heavy you were able to bench press, or whatever. Sure, those things are cool and it's great to talk about, but it just feeds the ego and it doesn't necessarily give you what you need. So I would be more focused on different markers like your sleep. How's your sleep going? Are you sleeping well? Are you sleeping deeply? Do you feel rested at the end of the night? At the end of the day? At the end of the night? In the morning when you wake up, do you actually wake up feeling rested? Heart rate variability. I don't know if you've heard of that, but that's basically just a way of telling how much or how little your body has recovered. For example, if your heart rate variability is not very good, you probably shouldn't be training too hard that day, and you can probably back off and do something a little bit lesser intensity. If your heart rate variability is in a really good range, maybe you can go a little bit harder that day, and that's great. Strength training is great, and as I said, setting PRs is fun, but you don't have to compare yourself to everybody else. Just compare yourself to you and your body weight. It's really good to be able to master your body weight. So it could be number of push-ups that you can do, number of chin-ups you can do. And like I said, not comparing that to anybody else, but just using it to see, all right, well, I weigh 80 kilos and I'm able to do 5 chin-ups. That's pretty good. And you know, imagine you lose another 5 kilos, you're down to 75 kilos. You can probably do another couple of chin-ups on top of that, just because if you lost the extra weight. That sort of stuff is really important, because you haven't had to get much stronger really. possibly not at all stronger during that time. You've just decreased the difficulty of the exercise by getting yourself into a healthier position. I would also argue that consistency beats everything. So sometimes it's not so much about, oh, did I do this really hard workout? Did I get my 3 strength training sessions this week and interval training and this and this and this and this? Did you do some exercise today? Yep. Did you manage to get some exercise every day this week? If you were a little bit flat, did you just go for a walk as far as your exercise? Yep, cool, you did a training session, that's great. Just getting reps on the board and being consistent with it is massive in terms of your long-term gains. You don't have to get it all perfect, you just have to show up. And showing up's the hardest part, so if you can show up and you can tell yourself you've done something every day, that's all that matters. And I have this conversation all the time with people. It's like, oh, didn't have time to get to the gym. Cool. Did you do a set of push-ups? Did you do a set of squats? You do them right now. It'll take you a minute and a half max. And you've done 2 sets of exercise. And you might not think it's too much, but you do a set of push-ups to failure. And then you do a set of squats to failure. That still makes a difference. That still adds up. That still contributes to your fitness score, to your strength gains. And it means you didn't miss anything in terms of consistency. And I would rate that much higher than getting it absolutely perfect. Because if you can do that thing when you didn't have time to do anything, then you've done something, and something is always better than nothing. I also like the idea of doing your rehab as you're training. Some people think, oh, I can't train at the moment because I've got this injury. Yeah, you can. You go and you do your rehab work as you're training. There is always something you can do. It may not be exactly what you want to do, but if you can continue to show up at the gym or doing the exercises at home or whatever it is to get you back to where you want to get to, then you're actually going to get there, because there's a huge amount of people out there that just go, got an injury, it's all over, no point anymore. Great example of this, and the opposite attitude is, I've been working with a guy for almost 6 years now. Trained him and his boys, and he did his ACL maybe a couple of years ago now, might have been playing basketball, or it might have been something else. Anyway, basketball was his thing. Did an ACL, wasn't sure what he was going to do about it. I spoke to him about just not necessarily getting the surgery, but there are ways for us to be able to get it stronger and back to working order without having surgery. And he was actually keen on trying the process, so I sent him to a physio that I highly recommend, that I know works within the same framework that I do. The physio gave us some exercises to do. We kept up our training. We kept doing the strength training that we could do, and we added the physio exercises in and made sure he did them all the time. We added some different supplements in to allow his body to heal a whole lot better, and we just kept going at it. At this stage, he'd given up the idea of playing basketball again. It's just like, no, it's over, it's done. That's fine. He'd accepted it. But the further along that we went, the better it got. The less pain that he was in, the better it felt. The more he started doing a few things, the more his brain started thinking about going back to playing basketball. And eventually he did, wearing a knee brace. So he shuffled up the court with the knee brace on and played the game and spent the time with his mates, and he just kept going and going, and it felt okay. We kept working at it consistently. Eventually that knee brace wore out and he just stopped wearing it. And I don't know how many seasons he's been back playing basketball now, but it's not really much of a second thought anymore. Yeah, the injury was there, but we keep doing the things to be able to keep the joints healthy, the muscles healthy, and he's back. Did we stop training because he got an injury? No. We just changed the training so it was working for whatever he wanted in the future. You can do the same thing, but you just got to not give up with it. It doesn't mean that it's never going to come back. It just means it's not there right now. So while you were an athlete, think of yourself more as an executive athlete these days. And that might sound a little bit weird, but honestly, the best leaders in business are the ones who are the fittest, strongest, most consistent with their training and all of that sort of thing, because they walk in a room and there's a presence about them that people can see straight away. It's not just the confidence that comes from years of experience of business, but it's the confidence of the physicality of, like, if shit goes down, I can actually step up and do whatever I've got to do, you know? So can you embrace that identity shift of, well, I don't have to be an athlete anymore, but this executive athlete, this fit businessman, you can maintain that and you can constantly improve that as well. It's just a matter of being consistent. So you've just got to work yourself back up to some sort of maintenance minimum. What are you doing on a weekly basis? What are you doing on a daily basis? Are you doing some things on a regular just to be able to build that base of fitness, that base of strength, that base of health? You know, can you improve your diet a little bit? Can you walk every day? Try and get an hour of walking in each day. Maybe that's too much right now, but even if it's just ducking out of the office for a 5 or 10 minute walk on a regular basis, multiple times a day, to get some fresh air, take some phone calls while you're doing it that way. Anytime the phone rings, getting up and going for a walk is a great way to be able to just get some extra reps in. If they're not important, obviously. If it's just talking to a friend or something, just get outside and go for a bit of a walk and get moving rather than just sitting there. Can you do some stretching? Can you do a couple of strength training sessions a week, even if it's only 5 or 10 minutes a session? Can you do some sort of cardio? Zone 2 cardio, where you're kind of doing something that's steady state and not too full on. Maybe it's riding a bike. Maybe it's going for a run if your knees will let you and your body's happy with that. Maybe it's going for a swim, whatever. Just doing something at a reasonable pace where it's not pushing too hard, but it's hard enough for you to be able to get a bit of a sweat going, a little bit out of breath, but not so out of breath that you can't keep up a conversation. Can you do some ab training in there? Preferably some glute training as well, just because the abs and the glutes work together to be able to support the core and hold the body upright. If your glutes get weak, everything falls apart. If your abs get weak, everything falls apart. Do both of those at the same time makes a huge difference. You only need to do a couple of exercises a few days a week, and that will serve you so well in no matter what you do. Because if you're running and your glutes don't work, bad, going to lead to injuries. If your glutes and abs don't work, what happens is your hip muscles, your leg muscles, your back muscles, they all have to work really hard to try and stabilize your core while you're moving around, and that just leads to injuries. The whole idea is of your core is to be able to hold things in place, and if those muscles work, everything works fine. If those muscles don't work so well, and honestly they degrade over time, especially after just sitting for long periods of time. And that's the problem, we sit so much these days that it switches muscles off and they don't work, and that just leads to pain, injuries, illness, all sorts of problems. So if you're not sure where to start, I would go and grab my vitality audit, and you can basically just see where your energy's at, and then start to take a few of the steps to be able to work your way up. If you're feeling confident with them, because there's only 3 things in there, it's just really simple things to be able to get you started. If that's too easy, I have a 14-day energy upgrade that you can do, which has got a few extra bits and pieces in there. It's not going to take a huge amount of time out of your day, but it's going to give you enough to be able to increase your energy and decrease your stress, and just give you a basic routine to get started with. And once you can do the basic routine on a regular basis, everything gets easier. So you'll find the link in the description. There's a whole heap of other free stuff that you'll be able to find in there, but the Vitality Audit is probably the best place to start. Give it a go. Let me know how you go.